Welcome to the IDP Plus podcast, formerly IDP Guys. I'm your host, Steve Hungarter at IDP Hunters. Tonight, we're going to have a little special presentation. We're going to discuss, we're going to rank, we're going to talk about rookie running backs. Now, I know what you guys are thinking. Why the heck is this IDP Hunter guy talking anything about offense? Well, I'm trying to diversify the portfolio. I'm trying to bring out a little bit more. I'm trying to add a little bit extra to the stage. But I'm bringing backup with me. I'm bringing one of the most experienced hosts I could find. I'm bringing you guys Jeff Lambert. Jeff Lambert needs no introduction, but I'm going to give you one anyway. He's the founder of Going for Two, and he's the founder of Going for Two Live. On top of that, he's a writer, an analyst, a ranker. What's going on, Jeff?
What's up, man? Glad to be here, man. It's always fun to be talking football, in the off season. It's what I love to do, man.
And it's so neat doing this one with you because not only are you like in the off season grinding, and you can check Jeff out on Facebook too, guys. He has his own page and he's always doing rankings for this sort of stuff. But we go back way back, don't we?
Yes, we do. We go back. Facebook was where we met, actually, through Facebook. And this guy used to send me 75-page messages through Facebook Messenger of all his rookie profiles and breakdowns and everything else. So it's cool to see how far you've come from those page-long messenger chats to now.
Yeah, I was that guy sending Zodiac killer messages. It was I didn't know if you're going to call the cops on me or be impressed, but yeah, we go way back. I'm an admin over at the Fantasy Expert page, and I remember sending you like a top 65 rookie cornerbacks, and he's like, "Who reads this?" And you came back to me. You were very kind, and you're like, "Dude, you should do this professionally." And I thought about it, and then I kind of just merged that. It's like you have a crystal ball or something, Jeff.
I'm saying you were already doing the work. You know what I mean? It's like you might as well just take that work and put it somewhere that can be seen by everybody.
I'm hoping you have a crystal ball with these rankings, because let me tell you, I'm pretty sure at this time of year that quarterback is kind of sort of, you can do a pecking order. You can do a pecking order on tight end, at least the top 10 anyway. Same thing with wide receiver. But running back right now is all over the place. If you go on anybody's website, if you go on anybody's stuff right now, you're going to see different rankings for different stuff from different people. It's so volatile. It's so diverse. It's crazy. And I've never seen, I can't remember a year when I've seen it like that, Jeff. Any reasoning, or do you have any thoughts on that? Why the running back class is all over the place?
Yeah, so it's weird, right? Because usually, we know who the quote unquote top at least one or two guys are, right? There's always those guys that are sort of landing spot proof, where they're going to be, their talent is going to overcome wherever they end up going. The Bijan Robinsons, the Jonathan Taylors, the Breece Halls, the guys that we kind of know, even, the year previous, we kind of know that these guys are going to be coming into the league and they're going to be a top pick. And we just don't have that this year. And I think a lot of the guys, I think that some of these guys will raise up draft boards as we get closer to the draft. And then eventually, once they get drafted to teams, because I think if you look at the landscape of the NFL, there's a lot of opportunity right now with the NFL. We have an older class. I think it was a 2017 class of running backs that were really strong. Well, they're winding down to the end of their career. Obviously, I think Christian McCaffrey was in there. A few other guys. Christian McCaffrey's still going strong, but those are other guys in that class that are kind of fading out. And if these guys are able to step into those roles on those teams, their stock is going to raise just by opportunity alone. But we don't have that guy that I feel like is landing spot proof, where they can go to any team and they're still going to, maintain that top 4 or 5 spot. We don't have that this year. So I think landing spot this year will be absolutely huge for these running backs. And because they're so landing spot dependent, none of them have gotten separated from each other. So we're all kind of grouping them a little bit lower, sort of hedging our bets a little bit until we see landing spot, we see combines to kind of give us some separation. So I think that's why this year the running back position is so depressed.
I mean, if you look at it too, Raheem Sanders and Travion Henderson were the top running backs, and they decided to go back to school.
Yep.
Then the next guy up was Jonathan Brooks, and he got hurt. So we already got a watered down class.
Absolutely. That definitely hurt. Because I put out a super early ranking, and I had Travion at my top running back spot, and then literally a few years later, like, oh, he's going back to school. I'm like, what? I just did my rankings, so I got to change everything.
I did that with what's his name there? Oh man, but I did it with a lot of them. You're right. But on top of that too, I don't know if you looked at next year. Next year's running back class is kind of like the wide receiver class this year. So this might be a good year to get a cheap RB2 or trade down the board, what have you.
Absolutely. I actually in my home league, I had 3 first-round picks during the season, and I decided to trade them all away and go for the championship. I went and traded all 3 first-round picks. I got Christian McCaffrey, Derrick Henry, rode those 2 to a championship, and I got all second-round picks left. But I have 3 or 4 second-round picks. I'm hoping to just stack up some running backs this year in my home league.
You know what? I wasn't going to do this, but since you brought it up, I looked through all my leagues. I don't have a single first, second round pick. It's just the kind of player I am. I traded everything away, what have you.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm kind of looking forward to these second, third, fourth round. I actually just joined an international league. It's like 38 teams. It's over in Europe. This guy, Brock Bauer, yeah, he's amazing. But I kind of just want to get like a fresh start where no one knows. Because, once your friends know what you do, they're like, oh, we don't want to trade you anything, and that kind of ruins Dynasty a bit,
Yeah, I actually have. I can show it to you real quick. I don't know if you can see this. So this is my home league trophy. I don't know if you'll be able to read what that says on there. It's the anybody but Jeff trophy, because my league hates me so much that we named our trophy anybody but Jeff. And of course, I've won it now 2 years in a row. So
hey, Jeff plays in some fun leagues, people, too. If you ever get bored, Google zombie leagues. He's the only one out there. It's a combination of vampire and guillotine.
Yep,
it's really fun. I think you do it with all the analysts, right? But it's an exciting league. It's one of my favorite leagues I look forward to every year.
Yeah, it's definitely a unique format. I kind of came up. It was my brainchild, the zombie league. Essentially, like you said, it's a combination of a vampire league and a guillotine league. Whereas you start the season with one zombie who doesn't draft, similar to a vampire league. They get to pick up all the free agents. And then if they beat you during the season, they get to take one of your players. And then you have to drop all your starters. And then you are also a zombie. So there's 2 zombies. And then, 3 zombies and 4 zombies. And by the end of the season, you're like a few humans left and a couple zombies. It makes it for a very fun.
It's great
format.
I kind of need that. Hey, before we begin, I'm going to just talk about a promotion IDP Guys is doing. For $1 this month, okay, you can get all of our content, all of our written articles, all of our tiers, all of our rankings, code word mock draft, and it's just $1. For the audience on Spotify that can't see my screen, I just pulled up the IDP Guys page. Right now, there's several articles being written. It's pretty exciting. The article I'm going to kind of go over with Jeff today is my running back prospect tier. I went crazy. I did a full-blown beyond the top 24. I actually got some sleepers. Today, we're not really going to go that deep. We're probably going to do top 10. This is more of a tease because the article's coming out, kind of same time that this recording is. So we wanted to get this out before a lot of these guys blow up. We're trying to get ahead of the turn here. But yeah, go ahead and guys, check that out. It's only $1. $1 for the whole month buys you all that stuff, articles, written content. You can even be in our Discord. All right, let me go ahead and switch it up here. We're going to go straight to the rankings. Jeff, can you see my screen?
I sure can.
Okay, I guess I'll just go with mine and we'll follow along. I can say, in my opinion, the running back draft class this year is dealer's choice. There's 3 guys this year that it could be anybody on. You can pick either one of these 3 guys and still be okay. So my tier 1 is Jonathan Brooks, Trey Benson, and Braelon Allen. How do you see that tier 1? Is there any guy in here you want to talk about?
So that is my original tier 1 as well. And then I listened to the DLF podcast with Ryan McDowell and those guys, and they just recently did an episode. They talk about Bucky Irving and how much they like Bucky Irving. So I'm tempted. I haven't gone and done a deep dive on him yet, but they raved about him, his pass catching ability, his explosiveness, acceleration, the whole 9. And so I want to go back and look at him. They did mention that he is absolutely terrible in pass protection, which if you're a pass catching running back, is kind of a death knell in the NFL. But if he can fix that and figure out a way to use that explosiveness and that speed on the field, he could sneak into that tier 1 as well, I think.
So I got Bucky Irving at 4, believe it or not. But let me crack these. Let me crack this tier 1 out real quick. Jonathan Brooks, he's probably your elite guy here. He was a 3-star recruit. A lot of people player comp him to Javonte Williams. In school, he's been the guy, and we all kind of wanted to see it. I'm the biggest defender. If you want to raise your hands out there in the audience, Bjorn Robinson gets drafted, and we all thought the sky's the limit for this guy. We all thought he was going to go and do great things until he got hurt, right? That's going to be the biggest narrative. Can he beat these injuries that he has? And I'm going to tell you the reason I still have him number one. If you looked at his average, he had a 6.1 average and 10 touchdowns with no fumbles. That was on par with Bijan Robinson, what he was doing. So that's why I'm keeping him one. I'm hoping he's young enough to beat out the injuries, So any thoughts there, Jeff?
Yeah, so I also had him at one. I've recently lowered him to two. And it's really based on that injury. Like, are we going to be able to start him week one? Is he going to be on a pup list? Is he going to, are we got the red shirt him, put him on taxi squad for the first year? So that's the only thing that I've kind of lowered him for, was with the injury concern. But yeah, I mean, he's got the vision. He has the football IQ, the acceleration. He's got some decent pass catching chops as well. So, you want to see that, and you play in PPR leagues. So yeah, I think overall, Jonathan Brooks, if we're just looking at pure talent and not taking injury into concern, I think he probably is the number one running back.
And then two, I put Trey Benson, and all these guys are arguably 2 or 3. He's kind of a weird player to comp. I'm saying Todd Gurley, Zach Evans. He's got that pretty good speed, that 4.4 speed, but he's not really incredibly elusive. It's more of like a boom rather than bust potential. He's got that straight line speed. I really like him because, when I was scouting him, I was looking at that 200-yard game that he ran. He ran and broke Dalvin Cook's record. He's a violent rusher, and that's kind of what, maybe I'm old school, but I like to see the guys that can run the ball, straight up the middle, that sort of thing. So any thoughts on Trey Benson?
Yeah, so I like Benson a lot. Obviously, you talked about his big playability. He has that ability to take it to the house. He's extremely versatile too. He can do a lot of different things in that backfield. Acceleration is there. The only issue that I really had, and pass pro will be one that I probably mentioned for majority of the running backs. But also he runs at a very high pad level, which works in college, but it doesn't always work in the NFL.
Yeah.
You get that pad level down, or you're going to take some pretty big hits there. So that was the one thing I saw when I watched him, was his high pad level. And pass pro, like I mentioned, is going to be one of the things that we mentioned for a lot of these running backs this year. And every year, I think that's something they struggle with just in general in college. Going to the pros, they're going to have to learn that. It's something that can be taught, though. So that is definitely a plus there.
Yeah, that's a good point with that pass pro and just learning the NFL game a little bit. Some of these players, like Bucky Irving, we're about to get into, maybe have a little bit better of a dynasty advantage. Number 3, I got Braelon Allen, and if a dynasty owner wants to put him number 1, I'm more than okay with it. It's literally dealer's choice. Let's start here with Braelon Allen. He's 20 years old. Okay, he's 6'3", 238 pounds. He went to college at 17 years old. This guy's played 3 years, and he started as a linebacker. So when I think of him, think of like a Carlos Hyde type, or like a bruising back type. He hits, he fights, he plays angry like a running back would. His tape looks great, and in college, those 3 years, he's got 3,494 yards and 35 touchdowns in 3 friggin' years. So the thought for me with him is he's a dynasty stash. He's been playing against guys 5 years older than him. If anybody has potential on a metrics to rise above a chart, it's him.
Yeah, absolutely. I first thing I wrote down for strengths is physical downhill runner, which is kind of what you just said there. Very patient as well, and he has good vision, so he's able to find those holes. He doesn't, rush. He can set his blocks up really well, so he can really, be patient behind the line of scrimmage. The only thing that was a negative that I had, it was his long speed. If he gets through that first line, he might run over those DBs, but he's not going to outrun those DBs. So he will get caught from behind occasionally. But in dynasty and fantasy, as long as we're getting those big chunk plays, we still like him. So I currently do have him as my number 1. But like you mentioned, you could take these 3 guys and throw them in a bucket and pull them out and get 3 different guys and be perfectly fine with it.
Because I don't have a lot of draft picks, I like this next tier and even the further tier. Let's go number 4, Bucky Irving out of Oregon. Complete profile. He's 23 years old. He's 5'10", 195 pounds, 3-star recruit. The player comp I have for him, Ampli, if you remember that name.
Yes, that's a
Old
Niners
school
fan. I
Ampli.
do. Yeah,
Or maybe a poor man's Austin Eckler. I knew you would, Jeff. I knew you appreciate me.
yeah, absolutely. I love Bucky Irvin. The one thing that it can be a positive and can also be a negative is I think he plays bigger than he is. Like he's
Yes.
195. He seeks out
Yes. Ding, ding.
contact, which is good in a sense. But if you're in the NFL seeking out contact at 195, you might not last very long. I think there was a guy, Devonta Freeman. He played kind of the same way where he sought out contact, and it's a good way to get hurt. So I think the coaches can hopefully coach him up and make sure he sort of picks his spots when he's taking on those linebackers.
It's like you're reading my mind. I mean, yeah, the 195 pounds jumps out to me as well. But you know what? Gone are the days where we worry about these lighter running backs. That's kind of like a misnomer now. I mean, look at the last 2 seasons. Jahmyr Gibbs proved it wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Devon A-Chain proved it wrong. Kyron Williams proved it wrong. We can still get production in this new NFL, these lighter players. But that's the first thing that jumped out to me, and I'm glad I see him rising up boards.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you're right, because I think the NFL now, it used to be, I've been playing fantasy football since 96. With a 19 in front of it. 1996 is a long time ago. Back then you had one running back on a team and they got the majority of the touches. Now it's, you might have you have at least 2 guys if you don't have 3 guys touching the ball. So guys like Bucky Irving can get a 15 touch game and still be a fantasy asset in today's game.
Absolutely.
And keep him healthy. You don't put him in there to be the grinder to get those those tough yards. You put him in there to be an explosive player, to be a playmaker on the field, and guys like Bucky Irving, kind of have a place in the NFL now where 10, 15 years ago, he might not even been thought about as a decent prospect, but now he is.
And you know what else with Bucky Irving? You're going to hear everybody do it, so I'm not going to do it to the audience. They're going to talk about his pass catching ability till you're blue in the face. One thing that gets overlooked with Bucky Irving is his running ability. He had 6.3 yards per carry on 10 touchdowns, okay? He is a great, and I repeat, great, if you watch the tape on him, off-tackle runner. That is great in today's NFL, and he, at the very least, he's a taxi stash. But, yeah, his running ability is so neat, and I have a fun stat for you here, Jeff. When I was doing my homework, he's known for these flashy catches, but he was one of only 3 Pac-12 players, running back-wise, to rush for more than 60 yards 3 times on the season. So he has that big play boom, but it doesn't really get talked about enough because, everyone's talking about the catch and the weight.
Right, exactly. Those are the 2 things that stand out, but I don't think it's as big. Like you mentioned, the couple guys that we've had in the NFL, that are smaller guys that have been, A-Chain and Gibbs both last year had really good seasons.
Exactly. Now, my number 5, I'm probably going to get drugged for because people are going to be like, who the heck's this guy? But you got to take your shots. So I'm getting a little saucy all the way at 5 because there's another name that people want there, and I'm going to argue that till I'm blue in the face. But I'm going to give you Audric Estime from Notre Dame. Okay, he's another 20-year-old prospect. He's a 4-star recruit. I kind of compare him to Bam Morris. 2 years, he's averaged 5.9 and then 6.4 yards per carry. Down there in South Bend, Notre Dame, he's more of a ground and pound kind of player. I know the NFL's kind of getting away from that. So that's kind of the knock on him too. He's one-dimensional. I mean, he doesn't do much catching or anything else for you. But if you're looking for a runner, a guy between the tackles, a guy to smash plays, you should see a lot of tape on him. It's kind of exciting to have him there. Here's a fun fact for you, Jeff. He had 18 touchdowns this season, which surprisingly is a Notre Dame record. I would have thought out of all the running backs down there that somebody would have had a higher one. Yep. But that's his game. Any thoughts on him, or do you have somebody else at 5?
Yeah, so I have him quite a bit lower. And I think I have him at 9. I think he is going to be a great addition to an NFL team. I just don't know how much that's going to translate to fantasy points because he's not a pass catcher. That's one knock against him. The strengths that I had for him, obviously he's extremely strong. He's got good contact balance. He's one of the few guys that does well in pass protection. One of the few guys in this class. He's got great patience. The long speed and explosiveness is not there. My comp to him was actually more of an AJ Dillon type. I think Dillon might be a little bit better of a pass catcher than he is. So my concern is that he is going to be a great addition to an NFL team. But unless he gets in a high-powered offense where he can get a lot of touchdown equity, I don't know how many points in the fantasy realm he's going to be putting up. So I have him ranked a little bit lower, but I can definitely see the upside for sure.
Right. And here's another one I'm going to get drugged for. I put Blake Corum at 6, all the way down at 6. And here's my thoughts. I know people, they might have him as their 4 or might even have them as a tier 1 running back because they've seen all the production he did in school, okay? But here are the facts. He's a lighter player, okay? He turns 24. He's already 24 during his rookie season. He's a lighter player. He doesn't necessarily known for pass blocking. And let's be real about it. He had the ability, he had the privilege of playing on a top elite team with offensive linemen and talent. He's not going to necessarily get that in the NFL. Now, granted, if he goes to the Chargers or Harbaugh drafts, I might change my mind a little bit. But right now, I got Blake Corum at number 6 because there's just too many other players like a puzzle piece that could easily translate to the NFL.
Yeah, I have him at 5, so I'm not too far off what you have with him. We saw it. He's got great vision. He's got good change of direction, good patience, decent pass catcher, not otherworldly or anything, but decent enough that he can get by. But you're right. Concerns, size, frame. He doesn't have the long speed and short yardage. He kind of struggles in as well. So
I just don't see how they're going to get him on the field,
Yeah, he's one of those a jack of all trades and master of none, right? He's solid all around.
And I hate to be negative on players that didn't even play in the NFL yet. And these guys are so young. I mean, he was impressive. He had 58 touchdowns with the Wolverines, but I have a lot of questions. I don't know how that's going to translate to the real NFL. But here's the thing: in our rookie drafts, people are going to take him early, and you're seeing it.
Yep.
I mean, you've had him go early in a couple of years, right? Where do you see him getting drafted at?
I've had him go as high as the RB1. Now, granted, I think the RB1 on that draft was in the second round still, but I've had him go as the RB1 in some of my mocks. And then I've seen him go as far as the RB4, 5, 6, and 7 towards the end of the second round, top of the third. So people are kind of all over with him right now.
So the thing is, though, if he goes high, we can get incredibly value with the rest of this list. And there's some good players in here. I know this running back class kind of gets ragged on a bit, but if you squint your eyes, there's some maybe not diamonds in the rough, but there's some shiny objects down here.
Yeah, what I've been telling everybody, because in my home league, for example, I'm loaded at receiver, and I've been trading my first rounds to get back into the second to have what I say more bullets in the gun, right? I want to have 2 or 3 of these guys because only one of them might hit. But if I can grab 2 or 3 of them, I'm guaranteed to hit at least one of them. So that's kind of what I've been telling people to do is you need running backs, trade back in the second round, get more picks.
Similarly to that, my friends know I'm notorious for this. I will just pull all these guys on IR and I'll stash. And I don't know why leagues quit during the offseason. It just makes no sense. This is the time when you make deals.
Time of year.
But my roster's over. I probably got 5 over right now. So hey, I tell you what, I'll give you these 3 guys. Here you go, Jeff. I'll give you Cordell Patterson and Denzel Mims for just let me move up a little bit. And I'm like you, that 3.1, 2.8. I'm gonna get one of these guys, especially in this next tier. After we reveal this next player, I'm gonna get one of these guys, and I'm kind of excited about it. See, this is why I like working with you, Jeff, because, we're the only guys now probably talking about RB7s and excited about it.
Yeah.
So my RB7 is Will Shipley of Clemson. He was a 5-star recruit, 21 years old. I struggled with a player comp. I said Danny Woodhead, but I kind of feel like that's everyone's a Danny Woodhead nowadays. But that's what he does. He was vital on Clemson's offense. He had 31 touchdowns. 5 yards or greater a carry, top 5 all-purpose back in 2022. Scouts see him as one of those next level type of receivers. Pass catching ability is great. I think he had 29 catches out of the backfield. So expect him to have that passing catch role, maybe even a good special teams role. But he's going to be one of those players that people want on their teams. Thoughts on Shipley?
Yeah, 100%. I'm with you on that. His strengths, obviously, he's pass catching. He's got good balance and vision. Obviously, acceleration is there too. Doesn't have the long speed, but with a guy like him, you don't necessarily need the long speed. The only thing that I noticed when I watched him is a lot of his runs were on the outside, which a guy like him, is going to be on the outside. But the NFL, you also want to get those inside runs as well. And he had a high pad level as well. I know I talked about that earlier with another guy, but for what he does and what he can bring to an NFL team, I think he's definitely solid, and I think his chops will be earned in the passing game. If he can go to a team that knows how to utilize his ability in the pass catching, so that's definitely someone I'm looking at in those mid second round, mid to late second round.
Hey, 85 catches on his college career. I mean, shoot, is that not impressive?
That's pretty good.
So we're actually moving along quick, and this is the final tier. I'm only going to go to 12. And for my audience, I'm actually gonna show a little bit of this article, just a little piece. These are some of my top 24 running backs right here. So YouTube guys, I know guys on Spotify, you can't see my screen, but I'm literally showing how I have it ranked over here at Fantasy Pros. Okay. Let me just read this last tier and tell me how you got it, Jeff. Okay. So let's see here. So number 8, I have Marshawn Lloyd. Number 9, I have Ray Davis as a sleeper. 10, I got Dylan Laube as a target of mine. 11, I have Cody Schrader as a sleeper, but everyone's hyping that up. And then 12, I got Jase McClellan out of Alabama. How do you see 8 through 12 panning out?
Yeah, so these are the guys I have. Marshawn Lloyd at the same spot that you have him. I have him at 8. I have Ray Davis in the same spot. Then I mentioned earlier that I have Audric Estime in this 9 spot.
Okay.
I got Dajun Edwards from Georgia there, and Dylan Laube. And then rounding out my top 12, and it's more of a sentimental value to me because I'm a Niners fan. I got Frank Gore Jr. in there. I don't know how he's going to translate to the NFL. Being he's only 5'7", 199, so he's definitely a small guy, but he's the guy that I want to root for because I love Frank Gore. He's one of my favorite players of all time. And to see his son come into the NFL, if he can be anything, even if he's 60% of what his dad was, I think he'll have a solid career.
Hey, curious, because I got Dajun a little lower. What is it that you see in him that you like?
So with Dajun, obviously receiving ability is there, and I think he also has the because a lot of these guys that we're going to be talking about in this range may not come in as the RB1 on their teams. They got to find a way to sort of make the team. And he's got kick return value, which will at least get him onto the roster. If he has that ability. Obviously, we talk about size and frame's a little bit small. He lacks a little bit of power, but it's that receiving ability that he has. I think that he could take that to the NFL, and the NFL right now is trying to find creative ways to get these running backs the ball in their hands. And when you got coaches like the Miami coach that's drawing up all these crazy plays, trying to get these speed guys in space, I think he can fit into something like that.
Hey, I play in these 32-team leagues where you can't buy a running back to save your life, but we have kick return points, and these are the kind of DJ Dallas type of players that I like to stash. And everybody's like, how the heck did you get 32 points? Well, he just returned a punt. You know what I mean? So I love hearing that. That's music to my ears.
Absolutely. My home league's got points for kickoff and punt returns as well. So I think I can't think of his name now. The Saints receiver this past year, and he was a top 24 receiver in my league. He was actually almost in the top 12. Who's the big play receiver from the Saints? It's escaping me right now.
Not Olive or
no, not Chris Olave, the other one, the big play guy. He had a couple 60-yard bomb touchdowns.
AJ Perry was the rookie. You got me curious.
Not the rookie. He was a second-year player. He was a rookie last year. I don't know why.
I know who you're talking about. You're talking about that. Shoot, what's his name? You just threw me off.
I'm drawing a blank here.
Is it Rashid Shaheed?
Yeah, Rashid Shaheed.
Yeah.
Yes.
There's no way. That's a spelling bee. There's no way I'm going to remember that. I need to look it up.
Yeah, Rashid Shaheed. He gets those return yardage. And ended up being, for a while, he was a top 12 receiver in my league because of return yardage.
That's amazing. Hey, so number 8, Marshawn Lloyd. I swear this guy just must like the letters USC because he went from South Carolina, then he ends up transferring to Southern California. Yeah. So he's a USC guy, right? He's a 4-star recruit. I actually like his tape, but I'm like one of those guys. I like guys who pound the ball. And I gave him a player comp, and I'm not sure if this is 100% accurate, but I did LeGarrette Blount. I'm not sure if that's great, but let me just read a little bit about him. He's an excellent pass blocker. He's a power back. He excels at inside tackle and off tackle. Used a lot in zone reads, a lot of zone read concepts, which, that complements the modern day NFL. He did tear his ACL. That's why I got him lower, but that was as a freshman. So, I really think, I'm being critical of these players. Moving forward, he should be good. But he profiles to me as a decent runner. He doesn't do much catching. That's kind of like where I did the comparison. But, 21 games, rushed for 801 yards, 10 touchdowns, 4.6 average. I like Marshawn Lloyd.
Yeah, I like him a lot as well. I have the same notes that you have. The one concern I have is ball security. He did put the ball on the ground, more often than you would like for a running back. So if that translates to the NFL, he's going to find a hard time getting on the field. But ball security was the one negative that I saw in this game.
My number 9, and shout out. So I haven't told you this yet, Jeff. Me and Jamie, we actually have a Facebook group, and we all put these sleepers together and these rookies. He's in there. He's a little quiet now, but shout out to Jamie, but also Brady Hull. Shout out to you, because he turned me on to Ray Davis earlier this year, and I'm like, dude, whatever. This is back when everybody was listening to Blake Corum. But shout out to Brady Hull. He was pounding the drum for this guy, and it took me a while. It took me maybe a couple days before the Senior Bowl started to fall in love with this guy, and he's now a target of mine, a sleeper of mine. Let me tell you about Ray Davis out of Kentucky. He's 5'10", 230 pounds, 3-star recruit. I guess the player comp will be Dameon Pierce. Hopefully he has a better career than Dameon Pierce. But what's neat about Davis is he rushed for 14 touchdowns this year. He broke the season record of 20 if you count his catches too. I think that was held by Benny Snell. Don't quote me on that, in Kentucky. But right. He's got that lower build, so he smashes defenders between the tackles too. I did 2 stats on him that I really enjoyed. This is why I'm geeking out about him, right? He had 106 extra yards after contact. So he's one of those guys who missed tackles, breaks tackles, whichever. Here's a fantasy fun stat for you. He's a transfer, okay? From Vanderbilt to Kentucky. He had 1,000 yards in both seasons. So that just goes to tell you what kind of player he is. And going back to the guys that we don't want at the top of the list, this guy here in Superflex rookie drafts, he's a late 3rd, possibly 4th. That's a mistake. So enjoy this sleeper, audience. Jeff, where do you see this guy going in your drafts? I'm just curious.
So it's funny. I mentioned I listened to the DLF podcast, and I put out that 3-round Superflex mock draft graphic a little while ago on Twitter. And one of the hosts of the DLF podcast, Matt Price, commented. He just asked the question, "Where's Ray Davis?" Because he wasn't drafted. So, I went back and watched him because of that. I'm like, I don't know, where's Ray Davis? Why isn't he on this list? Let me go see what I'm missing about this guy. And now I've got him in my top 10. So that goes to show you exactly what you're saying there. I think he's a complete back. Obviously pass protection, like I'm going to mention, a lot of these guys has an issue with pass protection, but can definitely be learned. Doesn't have the long speed, no second gear, but we've seen running backs in the NFL without second gear that can succeed. So he's got the vision. He's a patient runner. He's a decent pass catcher, low center of gravity, and good contact balance. So those are all things that you love to see about a running back. So he's a complete guy. I think he can go to a solid team and really contribute.
So my number 10, I'm excited about and I'm geeking out about. And I'm really hoping you guys go over to IDP, guys. If you didn't hear in the beginning of the episode, for $1, you get all of our content for the month. You're getting rankings, articles. And the article I just wrote about prospects, he's my number 10. The closer we get, and the reason I was kind of trying to force this video and force this article. So thanks for being here with me, Jeff. The reason I wanted to do this is because there's guys like this that are just bursting at the seams. And as we get closer, and as the Senior Bowl and all this other stuff and the combine, guys like this next player are going to be already talked up, and they're going to be all the way up your boards. But right now, Dylan Laube, you can get him on the cheap because no one knows who the heck it is, right? Except 2 days ago, he decided to blow up, didn't he? He's all over Twitter right now, making all these fancy catches. So way to go, Dylan. You're ruining my drafts.
Yeah, it's funny how that works, right? You see guys that they pop at the combine that we weren't talking about, or an NFL team takes a shot on them earlier than we thought they were going to get drafted, and all of a sudden everybody seems to love him. You're like, hey, I was talking about him 3 months ago. Like, yeah, sure you were, but we, at least us, in this business, we have the proof, right? We have the written content, we have the video content. So yeah, see, we actually were talking about him a few months ago.
You should hear me. I'm talking to Joe Bond and I'm talking to like Dynasty Santa and Nate Cheatham. And I'm like, I need to get this out because if I don't get it out quick, everyone's going to be hot to it, you know?
Mhm.
So my thoughts on him though, he's one of the most versatile backs that I actually got the privilege to scout. Okay. And he's one of the best pass catchers. He actually has 4.46 speed, and we'll find out more about the combine if that holds true. He's a great route runner. Shocker, you guys already seen the video, so this isn't really a shocker to you, right? But the tape shows he can bounce off players. As a fifth-year senior, he took the field for 10 games. He had 745 yards, 161 carries, 4.46 steady average. He scored 9 touchdowns. Okay, in the passing game, he really destroyed it. So this is noteworthy. 68 catches, 708 yards. Okay, in today's NFL, and this is the point I'm trying to make, putting him at my 10. With today's NFL, you know, as teams go and players go, there's certain skill sets that could easily translate into stardom. And he's the guy. He's a guy for me. I can see getting drafted later and moving up boards. And one more for you, Jeff, because I like little fantasy stats. He shouldn't even be a darn sleeper. The guy led the damn nation in all-purpose yards this season with 2. Yeah, so why the heck are people sleeping on this guy? I believe in my Superflex rookie drafts, he's forgotten about. He's either getting drafted in 3rd or 4th round or not at all.
Not at all. Yep. I haven't seen him drafted in any of my mock drafts yet, so he's definitely still being slept on. Maybe not anymore. Not post Senior Bowl, but before that, he definitely was not being drafted.
One thing about these pods that we do, Jeff, we have an audience. I swear I did an Ivan Pace like breakout. Like he was owned in 2% of leagues. I looked on Sleeper Days in 24% owned. I'm like, geez, man, they're listening. They're listening to Stiff on YouTube and Spotify.
They're consuming the content. We love it.
I'm going to give you these last 2 together. 11, I got Cody Schrader. Everybody's talking this guy up. He was a 0-star recruit. He's a literal walk-on. I mean, the comparison on him is Peyton Hillis. He's got that sneaky 4.6 speed. He's a strong arm player. He's a good pass blocker too, which we all know what that means. He's going to be a 3-down player. I mean, he ran for 1,499 yards. Okay, and that's 399 yards more than any other player at the SEC. If anybody out there likes to look at tape or wants to, look at his Tennessee game. He ran for like 205 yards, 114 receiving yards. He just destroyed it. He's the kind of guy at a combine, I can see him just going off and destroying competition.
Yeah, good call. He's actually, so I did that 3-round mock that I just put out recently on Twitter, and Jamie, your boy Jamie, was part of that mock, and Cody Schrader's name was not available on Sleeper yet, so he had to text me like, I'm gonna draft a random guy, but when you put the graphic out, I want you to put his name on the graphic, Cody Schrader. So I did that, and he got a bunch of pops. Like, people were like, oh yeah, you got Schrader on there. Good job. I love Schrader. So I had to still go watch him. I haven't had a chance to. Jamie's been hyping him up in our little
he's
chat.
Fun.
But yeah, I definitely want to check him out for sure.
In the offseason, I did like a top 25 deep dive rookies. This was before any of this stuff. And I had Schrader in there. And I guess Jamie didn't read it. He goes, hey, what about Cody Schrader? I go, hey, look at this, dude. I already had him. Yeah. He's got that kind of – and he did that in my draft too. He's like, well, here, I'm going to put this player down. But you know what he did? He put a player that I wanted. It was like Roman Wilson or something. Yes. I'm like, dude, next time take an obsolete. You're killing me here. Yeah. But yeah, he loves Cody Schrader. And good, more power to him, because that guy does need a little more love. A 0-star recruit walk-on, I love hearing stories like that.
Good story.
And then I'll put 12. I'm going to give the audience Jase McClellan out of Alabama. I mean, shoot, an Alabama running back this low, you don't really hear that. He's 22 years old. Come on, man. 5'11", 212. That's a running back build. A 4-star pedigree recruit, right? His comparison is Alex Madison, and maybe that's the problem. He needs a bit more polish. What's that?
Those comps sometimes will kill a player's value if he comps him to someone that's not very good. Like, I don't want that. I already have Madison, and he's no good.
And that's kind of what he does. He's kind of like that kind of player. He's got 4.5 speed, but it kind of gets lost on game film. I had to look that up. I'm like, am I sure I'm looking at the right player? You know what it is too, Jeff? Injuries, ACL tears. That has lowered his draft stock, expecting medical. But again, for our fantasy purposes, he could be a nice free agent taxi somewhere, getting stuffed on a team,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I haven't watched much of him yet, but I've heard his name thrown around a little bit. So,
yeah, he's up there. I mean, again, just like as far as stats go, over his 4-year Alabama career, he produced 1,894 yards, 16 touchdowns on 341 carries. This is proof. Not only does Alabama churn out running backs, but he can be productive next level just based on that kind of numbers. And I'm pretty sure if we compared the other guys that get drafted, he'd be one just like that,
Yep, absolutely.
For the audience at home, I'm literally just going to go through my rankings one last time. I had top 23, but a couple of these guys are no longer on Fantasy Pros yet. So Dylan Laube just got added, and Cody Schrader just got added. So we're waiting for Sleeper to add Cody. But this is my top 24. This is what's coming in the article. Hopefully, guys, you have early drafts so you can take advantage of this stuff.
Love it.
Jeff, anybody else in there that I have that you don't have, or any closing thoughts?
No, the only one I had that you didn't have was Frank Gore Jr. Like I mentioned, he's a little bit smaller, but good receiver, excellent blocker, right? I mean, that's something that Frank Gore Sr. was really known for was his blocking ability. That kind of translated to his son. He's got some straight line speed, but obviously not breakaway speed. He's good at making people miss. Being 5'7" is a little bit easier. Obviously, he lacks size, lacks a little wiggle, and the biggest concern for me is that he's not his dad. Right, that's the biggest concern. People are going to see Frank Gore and think, okay, I'm getting Frank Gore. No, you're getting his son. His son's good enough to be in the NFL. Will have a role in the NFL. Value in fantasy might be a little bit tough, but I'm rooting for him for sure.
Heck yeah. Any closing thoughts, Jeff? Or better yet, tell the audience where they could find you.
Yeah, so you can find me on Twitter at Jeff Lambert 77. I'm pretty much on every social media. You can find me under that. Goingfor2.com is the website. Going for 2 Live is on YouTube. We got shows literally every night of the week. So if you type in my name or Going for 2, you're going to find all my stuff there.
And Jeff's the man. Like, if you want to look at, if you ever open up your Facebook and just see how mock draft's going, he does these all the time. If he don't know a player, something's wrong with that player. I'm going to tell you right now. Okay? From here, guys, I'll be doing a Dynasty rankings by position over on the Fantasy Six Pack in the next couple weeks. And then I'm going to be over on the Dynasty Triple Play with Joe Pepe. We're going to be going team-by-team breakdowns. I'm not sure how he wants to do that. He'll probably do offense. I'll probably do defense. And, of course, I'm on this channel as well. And then you guys can catch my rankings over at Fantasy Pros. Jeff, anything you're working on coming out?
Yeah, so I want to just mention real quick, we do these things. We call them PLPs, which stands for Personal League Podcasts. Basically, we get 3 or 4 guys from the Going for 2 team. You send us all your league information, or you just give me your sleeper, like you add me as a co-owner, and I'll go in and get all the information. And we break down team by team. We give you trade ideas. We give you draft advice. We rank the teams from worst to first. It's a lot of fun. We do them live so that the league can come in and talk a little trash. It's a lot of fun. We've been doing it for 3 years now. You can find that if you go to goingfor2.com/PLP. And sign up. And we've actually already booked up a couple of months already, so you got to get in there quickly because we only do them on Fridays. I think the month of July is pretty much already booked, so get in there now if you want to get that done. Again, it's goingfor2.com/PLP.
So I too am also a client. So just to reiterate that, I put it on the screen for the audience at home, and for the people on Spotify that can't see my screen, Jeff and Jeff's crew, for a fee, they will actually come on your league and they'll evaluate all your players, and they will actually do a podcast about it. In fact, I'm a former client, am I not?
Yep. You were one of the first ones that had done it actually. So it used to be all audio. I think last year was the first year that we took it to live video, which made it a lot of fun. Like I said, because the league members will come in there and they'll talk trash in our chat as we're going through. Like, oh, you got the number 12 spot. You're the worst team in the league, and they like talking trash. So it adds a little bit of extra something to it.
What better way as a commissioner to give that gift? You know what I mean? And sadly, Jeff was like, dude, this is a 7-on-11 super flex. What are you doing with Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen? Oh, that team won, by the way. You predicted it, But it was so funny, man, because that league was like bonkers scoring, all that stuff. But yeah, he does that with his crew, and it's fun. What better way to bring our audience together, bring people together, and have a review of your league from somebody not even in the league, you know?
Yeah, it's a lot of fun, and it's very cheap. It's $100 to get a podcast done, which if you break it down for your 12 league mates, if you just added an extra $8 to their entry fee that year, it would pay off the PLP. And if you want to do them in the doldrums of summer when nothing's going on, it kind of sparks some interest. We've had guys that will do trades afterwards. We give them trade ideas. Oh yeah, I made that trade that you mentioned on the podcast. It gets the league talking. It gets some interaction. So as commissioners, we're always trying to keep the league active, and the PLP definitely helped that for sure.
And what better way to make friends, talk shit with analysts, and have fun, right?
Absolutely.
So, Jeff, thank you so much for coming on with me and doing this with me. And I'm glad my running back rankings hold up. For the audience at home, we're going to cut the show a little bit early tonight. Enjoy the value you got here today. Please read the article and feel free to comment. I do this all the time on my show, Jeff. If you leave me smart comments, I will read them over for my next show.
All right.
So
love it.
We'll head out. Any thoughts, Jeff?
No, man. Thanks for having me on. This is a lot of fun, and anytime you want to have me come back on, I'll be glad to do it.
Excellent. Good to hear. Okay, my friends, y'all have a good night. We'll see you soon.
Thank you for watching this IDP Guys video. If you like this content and you want more fantasy football content, click here. If you enjoyed this video and you want to see more videos to help you master your IDP league, click here to subscribe.